Om Sphatikarajatarvarnam Bhakti-makshamalam Amrita-kalasha-vidyam Jnana-mudram Karadre Radhata-murada-kaksham Chandra-chudam-trinetram Vidruta-veda-bhusham Dakshinamurti-mire Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye Mahyam Shriyam Medham Prajnam Prayachat Swaha.
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ ब्रह्मादेवानां प्रथमः सम्बभूव विश्वस्य कर्ता भुवनस्य गोप्ता स ब्रह्मविद्यां सर्वविद्याप्रतिष्ठाम् अथर्वाय ज्येष्ठपुत्राय प्राह अथर्वणेयां प्रवदेत ब्रह्मा अथर्वातां पुरोवाचाङ्गिरे ब्रह्मविद्यां स भारद्वाजाय सत्यवहाय प्राह भारद्वाजोऽङ्गिरसे परावराम्. So, this is how the Upanishad begins. It begins with what is called an Akhyayika. Akhyayika means a little story. Why? The story is for the people who are studying. That is basically why the story is. And so the story gives the sets a mood, like an ambience. There is a kind of a, like that ambience is very, very important. When you go to a restaurant, you are going there for the food, right? You're not going there for anything else. But how the tables and the chairs are is important. What kind of lighting is there is important. And how one is welcomed is important. One feels welcomed, one feels invited. All that is important, because that is all setting the stage up for the meal that is to follow. Here the meal is Mahavakya meal. Yeah, that is the meal. That is the main course which the Upanishad invites everybody to have. That is the main course. The main course is the Mahavakya. The Mahavakya means the what is that called? The statements that equate the jiva with the truth of the universe, Ishvara. And so that is the main course. But everything else sets the stage up in order to be able to get to the place of applying the mind. And so too the Akhyayika, the story here has that kind of an effect. Furthermore, the story also goes to serve as Brahma Vidya Stuti. Stuti means lauding, praise. So why should the Brahma Vidya be praised? I mean, as though the Brahma Vidya has some complex and it is wanting to be praised all the time. No. Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of oneself as Brahman, is praised so that when it is praised, then the person is more eager to follow that. And that is how the modern advertisers have learnt from the Upanishad and other such Vedanta texts how to market all their things. That's why the Coca-Cola is hailed as the real thing. We know it is not the real thing because that is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. But still, it is hailed as the real thing because this is all clever marketing. So through these clever marketing tactics, these the companies also, what do? They just peddle their wares. And everything they learned from the Vedas, from the Upanishad. And the Upanishad doesn't, the Upanishad, when it is not understood, will not have any takers. Because this is something strange. I mean, why do I have to go to you in order to be told about myself? If I want to learn about myself, this is a very interesting paradox. If I want to learn about myself, I have to come to you. What kind of a strange thing is it? And this is something which is very interesting, because the whole Brahma Vidya is like that. So if I want to know about myself, why should I look into the book? I should look within myself. But the more I look within myself, the more unacceptable I feel to myself. And so therefore I have to get help to know about myself from someone else. Somebody who I don't know at all. And this is what happened when Pujya Swamiji went to Brussels in Belgium. And he was invited by a young man who had some kind of a yoga studio there. And he himself said, I'm not very famous. People in Belgium, they are just learning about yoga and not many people come. He himself admitted. But every year he used to come to Rishikesh and take a 3-month course, 1-month course, something as his schedule permitted. And one time he said, these people in Belgium must really know this, and please come there for a series of talks. And Pujya Swamiji said yes, but later on told everybody gathered around him, I don't know what I'm getting myself into, because 3-4 people are going to be there and I'm going all the way just for some of his yoga students. But as the story goes, when Pujya Swamiji turned up there, there were not 3-4 people, there were 300-400 people, not half of them not even knowing English. A translator, the student that had come to Rishikesh was the translator, and he had done an amazing job of advertising, no doubt. But in a way, Brahma Vidya advertised itself because the desire to know is so, the yearning is so much there that people were ready to go to Pujya Swamiji, about whom they had not, much less seen or heard. They had neither heard nor seen him. They just had read in the advertisement that there was a monk coming from India. And so therefore and Pujya Swamiji started his talk like this. Why is it that in order to know yourself you have to come to me, a perfect stranger? And so this is exactly what the quandary is. I want to know about myself, but I'm helpless. Why? Because nothing that I know about myself is correct. Nothing is correct means nothing is ultimate. Nothing is unchangeable that I know about myself. So the person who says I'm so and so inches tall, feet and inches tall, is shrinking as they speak, because as one grows older, one shrinks just minuscule amounts. One shrinks, keeps on shrinking. So that is not unchanging. Oh, I have a fine mind. I have studied so much. I have published so many papers. That also can change. That also keeps changing. And the person who is very proud of having this fine mind, at some point starts to take ginkgo biloba tablets. What are ginkgo biloba tablets? Supposedly they help with memory. Okay. And so some ancient remedies, they help with memory. And then that is if you remember to take them. Okay, yeah. So if that is not there, then I don't know how much they will help. So like this, the however you define yourself, that is just not true. Not true. Not true means what? Technically speaking, mithya. Mithya. It is relatively true. It's not absolutely true. But the heart craves for that which is absolute. Not that which is temporary, not that which is finite, but that which is unchanging and absolute. That is where the craving is. And so therefore, the Brahma Vidya here, the knowledge of Brahman. And when you say knowledge of Brahman, you have to be very careful. Okay, it's like saying Rahu's head. Rahu's head means what? Rahu is all head. So there's nothing other than head when we talk about the shadow planet Rahu. So when you say Rahu's head, it's just a Aupachariki Shashti. It is a sixth case. That is just for the sake of talking. It is not a real sense of belonging, because Rahu is all head. And so therefore what? Knowledge is all Brahman. Knowledge of Brahman means knowledge that is Brahman. Knowledge that is Brahman. And so therefore what? So therefore these kinds of, so anything that one thinks about oneself being not true, being only relative, being only empirical, and coupled with that, there being a craving to understand the truth of oneself fully, that is why this knowledge is somehow it is wanted, but it is out of reach. It is desired, but it is out of reach all the time. And hence the Brahma Vidya has to be, at least in the beginning, made attractive. Brahma Vidya already is attractive, because that's the only thing that really attracts. But Brahma Vidya is quote unquote made attractive to the person who doesn't know who doesn't know where to look. It's like sometimes these the birds during the mating season grow certain wonderful feathers and everything, color and everything, in order to attract a mate, because otherwise the mate doesn't know where to look. So similarly here, like this, Brahma Vidya is dressed up and made attractive through these stories, so that one can be wedded to this. One can commit oneself fully to this, and that is exactly how in the first two mantras, this is what is being talked about. The story is to attract us to Brahma Vidya. How that does it, we will see. So Brahma Devanam Prathamaha Sambabhuva. So first is the credentials. The credentials of the teacher are very important. Who is the teacher? Lord Brahmaji, the creator of the universe. So his creds are very important, because if the teacher is, let's say somebody who is very depressed and who cannot get out of bed and who is just malingering, and nobody will want to go and study from such a person at all. And so therefore the teacher here is talked about as that as a source that is infallible. Because coming from that source which is infallible, from Ishvara, the knowledge becomes attractive and trustworthy. So, Om, a sound of blessing, Brahma Devanam Prathamaha Sambabhuva. So, first forget Sambabhuva, let us take Prathamaha. The Brahma Devanam Prathamaha. So this Lord Brahmaji is the foremost among all the celestials, Devanam. Celestials means what? The shining ones, the Adhishthana Devatas of all the forms and functions that are manifest in the form of the laws of Bhagavan. And here Bhagavan is in the form of Lord Brahmaji, who is the first among all the Devas. Why? Because of his presence, the whole universe has come into being. Because of his presence. And so the Devas and all came later. He is the first among the Devas. Then, and how did he come forth? What is his source? Because that is a natural curiosity. He is the first among Devas, all right, but where did he come from? What are his antecedents? That's why the word Sambabhuva. Babhuva means was there, was born. But then the upasarga sam. Upasarga means the prefix sam changes the whole thing into a kind of an immaculate birth. Yeah. A birth that is not contingent upon one's papa punya, storehouse of papa and punya. That is generally the cause of birth that we know. And that's why we keep making fun of all kinds of activities, for example, which will give rise to various kinds of births in the next life, like that, So the birth is a result of the storehouse of Sanchita Karma in the form of unexpressed papa and punya, unexpressed results of karmas that are there standing in one's account. And a piece of that breaks off for each birth, a piece of that breaks off, and then there is a new birth and new birth. This is the birth and death cycle that we are aware of very intimately. Based on the karma, one is born. Based on the karma, one survives and lives. Based on the karma, the lifespan is over. And then the karmas done in that particular life, again in a subtle form, join the Sukshma Shakti, the subtle body. And what happens to that? And the cycle continues. So if Brahmaji was also like that, part and parcel of the universal cycle of birth and death, then that person will not be a trustworthy source of knowledge. Why? Because this Lord will also be like all other creatures, subject to omissions and commissions, subject to papa punya, subject to karma. I request the people to mute themselves. Thank you. Subject to papa punya, subject to punarjanma. So what if the source of knowledge is subject to papa punya punarjanma? So what? Well, there are two problems. One is, it means that the person is ignorant. Subject to papa punya all the time means the person hasn't gained the knowledge fully. And second problem with that is that the person becomes again the part of the problem. But instead of being the part of the solution, instead of being a solution, the person is part of the problem. So the source from which the knowledge comes always has to be infallible. So we trace that in this akhyayika, in this story, so that one can easily have shraddha for this knowledge. Shraddha for the knowledge is extremely important, because without shraddha, the knowledge will not come. What is shraddha? Shraddha means an open heart. an open mind, a trusting heart, that which is being given to me in the form of this knowledge is hitam for me, will comfort me, will liberate me. This kind of a trust. And who is asked to trust? The trustless jiva. The most distrusting jiva is asked to trust. So, how will this jiva trust? With the help of these stories. With the help of these stories, that there is such a source which is infallible, and that source is the Lord, here in the form of the creator of the universe, and who did not want to be left holding the bag. Why did you create this samsara? Well, don't blame me, because I have also given you the seeds of freeing yourself from samsara. So the creator here absolves himself, herself of all the blame associated with starting, quote unquote, starting this universe. So that this is, so the creator has, the Brahmaji has redeemed himself here. And so Sambhabhuva makes all the difference. Not a product of Papa Punya, not a product of Ajnanam, not a product of Punarjanma. That which simply is, or magically became, incarnated for the sake of some function. Just like we have Avatara Vada in the Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter, the Lord Krishna declares, Sambhavami yuge yuge. In every eon, in every period, I will incarnate myself. There also the prefix sam is very important. Sambhavami. Sambhavami yuge yuge. Why? Paritranaya sadhunam. In order to protect the people who are following dharma. Vinashaya cha dushkritam. And in order to destroy the people who are not following dharma, who are miscreants and creating mischief and spreading wrong information. And so in order to destroy that, and dharma samsthapanarthaya, the third reason is to re-establish the people's love for dharma, to re-establish that from which they have become dissociated, alienated. Sambhavami yuge yuge. I will magically reincarnate myself. So where is the karma coming from for the avatara's birth? The karma comes not from their own shesha, their own whatever is there, residual karma, but for the incarnation of various forms of Bhagavan, the karma comes from the jiva's desires to be free, the jiva's desires to be protected. So it's the collective karma of all the jivas which give rise to an avatara. Everybody saying Trahimam, Trahimam, Pahimam, Pahimam, save me, help me, don't leave me here by myself. Please do something, do something, do something. This is the karma. The prayer becomes the karma, and the prayer has a result of this magical incarnation in order to give this knowledge, in order to help the people, etc., etc. For both bhukti and mukti. The bhukti means gains within samsara, which people want because people are in a place of desperation. And mukti, of course, is liberation from wants themselves. So Brahma Devanam Prathamaha, the first among all the devas, magically incarnated himself as what? Vishvasya Karta, the creator of the Vishwa, the universe. Vishwa also means the jivas, all the jivas, the creator of all the names and forms for the jivas. And then Bhuvanasya Gopta. Bhuvanasya Gopta means Gup, to protect. So Bhuvanasya Goptru, the protector of the whole universe. And the protector of the universe, the creator of the universe, and the creator of all names and forms, including the bodies of the jivas, the minds of the jivas, but not directly creator of jivas, because the jiva is nothing but Ishvara, Anadi. So then then what happened? What did he do? Saha Brahma Vidyam Sarva Vidya Pratishtham Atharvaya Jyeshtaputraya Praha. Let us just take the verb. Saha Sapraha. He taught. Prakarshena aha. Taught until it was understood. He talked about this, he gave this until it was understood. What did he give? Then we can add one more word. Saha Brahma Vidyam Praha. So he taught Brahma Vidya. The knowledge that is Brahman, the knowledge that one is limitless. In other words, self-knowledge. The knowledge that one is free from all kinds of entanglements, including sorrow, pain, fear, dysfunctionality, codependency, etc., etc., etc. All afflictions. So, sa Brahma Vidyam Praha. And then, so unto who did he give this? And that will be in the fourth case, and that is Atharvaya Praha. He gave it to Atharva. So, Sa Brahma Vidyam Atharvaya Praha. So then, who is this Atharva? Never heard of Atharva. Jyeshtaputraya Atharvaya Praha. So the Jyeshtaputraya becomes an adjective to Atharvaya. That's why they are in apposition. So then, who is this Jyeshtaputra? The firstborn. So he gave it to his firstborn by the name, who went by the name of Atharva. He gave it to his firstborn. And then, just like Jyeshtaputra is an adjective to Atharva, similarly, Sarva Vidya Pratishtham is an adjective to Brahma Vidya. So this Brahma Vidya, what kind of Brahma Vidya? That which is the Pratishtha, upon which rests what? All other sources of knowledge. Upon which rest all other sources of knowledge, all other forms of knowledge are, because this knowledge is. You see how beautiful this is. So this is a setup for what is going to be discussed as Para and Apara Vidya later on. Very shortly we will be seeing that. So this is something which is very, very wonderful. So Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. Pratishtha means the basis. That in which something rests is called Pratishtha. And Shtha is Tha, to stay. So that in which something stays, that which is the basis of everything, that which is the Ashraya of everything. Ashraya of what? All the bodies of knowledge. So if we study how the life cycle of the bat, not cricket bat, okay, the bat, the animal bat. If you study the life cycle of the bat and find out, what does it eat? Mostly eats fruit. That's why it's called fruit bat. And this is how it flies, and it has some sonic, abilities to avoid certain obstacles. Doesn't fly into things because it has that sonar, waves. And then what else do we know about the bat? That it likes to hang out upside down, and all these things we know about the bat. So bat knowledge is, why we know bat knowledge is because is yes, it is, but that isness of the bat knowledge is contingent upon you, is contingent upon you being there. Your presence is unfettered. Your presence is causeless. Your presence is self-evident. And upon this presence, which is you, which is completely connected to knowledge. Why is the presence connected to knowledge? Because how else is the presence known? The presence is known. I am, if you say. Then my next question, as many people who have been taking these classes know, is what? How do you know you are? I know I am. And this knowledge, you don't have, for this knowledge of I know I am, you don't have to go to school. You don't have to get a degree. It is inbuilt into the I am. I know is inbuilt into the I am. I am Sat, I know Chit. Satchit, Satchit, Satchit is there. It is inextricably, they are linked. And what kind of I know I am? Infinitely I am. I am, I am, I am, I am, I know, I know, I know, I know. So on that I know, which never becomes I don't know, the whole knowledge and the presence of all kinds of things rests on that I. It's just so beautiful. Rests on that I, which is never invisible. Alupta drik, which is never, which never gets tired, which is present in the form of the self-shining, self-evident self. It is there. And then that is what is the is very, very beautiful here. In the form of the self-shining I, this thing rests. The knowledge of the whole universe. Any branch of knowledge you take, it keeps on going and going and going. You don't find the source of it. And locally, if you look for the source, you don't find the source. Everything you think is a source is just a resource. It is just a small little step. So where did this come from? Then you just get into an infinite regress. Shirt, what is the cause of shirt? Fabric, what is the cause of fabric? Threads, yarn, what are the cause of threads? Cotton bush, cotton pods. What is the cause of cotton pods? Cotton bush. What is the cause of cotton bush? Cotton seed. What is the cause of cotton seed? Cotton tree. What is the cause of cotton tree? Another cotton seed. Like this will go in an infinite regress. And we go in this infinite regress because the truth of this universe is cannot be found in all these in all these series of causes that rest on one another. So the whole universe is like a series of series of things that which have what is called in Sanskrit anyonya ashraya, mutual interdependence. So therefore the cause immediately what you think is the cause immediately becomes the effect. And this is after you have published a book. So then what do you have to do? Publish another book to find out yet another cause. And then you look for the cause of the stomach ulcers as a result of getting stressed to write book after book after book, and then you don't find the cause. Why? That cause is you. That which you thought is because is really the cause. That cause is you. And what kind of a you? The you that can never be objectified, as this Mundakopanishad is going to say. Yattadadreksham agrahyam avarnam agotram apanipadam. That which is not an object of sight, which is not an object of hearing, which is not an object of taste, much less the sense of smell, and so or touch. And so that is what has to be known, and it has to be known through being taught. And so here we find that this Sarva Vidya Pratishtha, that upon which everything rests, all branches of knowledge rests on that one sentence, I know I am. I know. And what kind of an I know? The knowledge that is never negated. The I know never becomes I don't know. Even when you say, I don't know anything about the life of the bat, you are actually saying, I know that I don't know anything about the life cycle of the bat. So I know that I don't know. I don't know relative, I know absolute. That is what is Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. A knowledge that is never negatable, a knowledge that is never never there to is never there, is never not there. Why? Because it is contingent upon you. It is you. So therefore, Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. Or one more reason Adi Shankara gives. Sarva Vidya Pratishtha means that it is the one entity to be cognized because of which everything is known. Second meaning of Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. Because there is a question that is going to be asked a little later here in this Upanishad. And what is that question? Kasminnu bhagavo vijñāte sati sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati iti. What is it, O revered sir, knowing which everything is as good as known? So Sarva Vidya Pratishtha means there is only one thing to know. Not only all knowledge rests on this, but the corollary to that, another explanation, a logical explanation, is that when this is known, when this I, which is never the object of I don't know, is known as the cause of the universe, there is nothing more to know. This is something reiterated in every Upanishad practically. Please teach me that, knowing which everything is as good as known. And in the Chandogya we see Shvetaketu also asking for this knowledge, or rather Uddalaka asking, do you know that knowledge, knowing which everything is as well as known? And Shvetaketu is bowled over and he says, is there such a knowledge? So therefore, this is Sarva Vidya Pratishtham Brahma Vidyam. This is the object of the sentence. So Brahma Vidyam Sarva Vidya Pratishtham Atharvaya Jyeshtaputraya Praha. Here again in the second sentence, in the second sentence of the mantra, we see another, trust exercise done by the Upanishad. So the first trust exercise is saying that this knowledge has come from an infallible and valid source, by someone who is a manifestation of Bhagavan in the form of Lord Brahmaji, who is not created and whose knowledge therefore will be trustworthy and infallible, who is not subject to papa punya and therefore mistakes and ajnanam. So this is the first invitation to trust this knowledge. In the second line of the mantra, another invitation to trust this knowledge is there, because this Brahma Vidya was given by Lord Brahmaji to whom? To the firstborn. Firstborn is always very dear to one. And you don't give your firstborn something suspect, something which you are not sure of, something that can lead them on a wrong path or cause harm. You will only give the best to your firstborn. And so in saying that this was given to the eldest offspring of Lord Brahmaji, the knowledge is made pakka in the minds of the people who are hesitant, who may have some kind of a resistance, who are suspicious of this knowledge. Okay, he gave it to Atharva. So this is tried and tested, and so therefore I can also study this. And then the second mantra is to eulogize the lineage of this knowledge. And the lineage of this knowledge, why does it need to be praised? The lineage of the knowledge is praised primarily because the knowledge comes to us through lineages. And the Veda recognizes two kinds of lineages. I mean, there are many kinds of lineages, but for the time being, two forms of lineages are recognized. One is through the which is represented by Lord Vyasa, Bhagavan Vyasa, who was very much a married person. And then we have, that kind of a lineage coming, which is like a householder lineage, which is going to be illustrated here also. Householder lineage. And then the lineage of householders. And then there is the lineage of sannyasis. And the two lineages will never see eye to eye. They did not during Adi Shankara's time, and they won't ever see eye to eye, because each one says, we are the ones that are correct. See, Lord Vyasa was a married man, and look at how much how far he was able to go here. So marriage, family life, all this is not a deterrent to this knowledge. So this one Paksha is very much there, adamant, saying that, okay, we have all our gurus, our householders, and this is how it is. And so like this. And then what? Then the sannyasi lineage represented by Adi Shankara, we'll just say what you householders will achieve, because one day you want to pay the bills, another day someone comes and somebody is crying, and so many responsibilities, and you will never have that kind of a vairagya, that kind of a dispassion needed for assimilating this knowledge. And the two will never see eye to eye. And in fact, we find that among the householders, like see, this lineage keeps on interchanging. Like Lord Vyasa was blessed with a son Shuka, who left the house at age 4.5. Before he was 5, he left house. And he told his mother, there is no reason to be here. Why to learn all this? Why to do all this? This is just, boring. I don't need to be here. I know how to tie my shoes now, and I know how to feed myself. I'm off. Mom, I'm off. And the parents were aghast. They said, you're so small, who will take care of you? Doesn't matter, Bhagavan is there, he said. And then he said, no, you need to come because you're precious to us. If not for yourself, be here for us. The father started to cry, the mother started to cry. They were just very upset. And so this small child told the father and the mother, I'm never away from you. And if you really want me, just think of me and I will be there. And that's what happened. He just literally just left. And then people thought he just changed into a bird and flew away. That is one of the Kimvadantis. So, some kind of a ancient myth that he became a parrot and flew away. But that we don't know whether he became a parrot or not. But it is true that whenever Vyasa thought of him, he appeared. So you see this kind of a alternating between the householder lineage and the sannyasi lineage, usually the son of or the daughter of householders becoming sannyasi, etc., is very much there. So we have to just let them have it out, because they will never see eye to eye, because it becomes a prestige issue about whether who gains the knowledge and whether this is authentic or not. So this householder lineage is now being talked about. Atharvane yam pravadeta brahma. So unto Atharva, that which was given in full by Lord Brahmaji, what did he do? This Atharva tam pura uvacha. So long ago he taught Angire unto someone called Angir. So Atharva then grew up and had his own Shishya by the name of Angir. These are very revered sages, all of them, Atharva, etc. So Atharva Veda is, named after this Atharva. So the son of Lord Brahmaji. And so these are all sages. So he taught to Angir. What did he teach? Brahma Vidya, the same Brahma Vidya, Prakritam, and that which is under discussion, the same Brahma Vidya he taught. And then what happened? Did Angir sit quietly after gaining this knowledge? No. Saha, this Angir, Bharadvajaya Satyavahaya Praha. He caught hold of a Shishya who was named, he was in contact with a Shishya who was named Satyavaha. Satyavaha means the one who is the bearer of truth. Very nice name, Satyavaha. Who came from the Bharadvaja Gotra, a clan called Bharadvaja, family clan based on the sage Bharadvaja. So that Satyavaha, who belonged to the Bharadvaja Gotra, became the student of Angir and received this knowledge. And then what did Satyavaha do? Bharadwaja here also had another student, a student by the name of Angiras. 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 So let us trace this lineage. So Atharva, and then after that what? Angir, and then Angir to Bharadwaja, also aka Satyavaha, and Satyavaha to Angiras. So you see how this knowledge is being given from one person to another, from teacher to student, it is flowing. So Brahma Vidyam is qualified by the word Paravaram. Para, that which came before, aka teacher. Avara, that which came later, the aka student. So Paravara, also Parampara, same thing. So this is how the knowledge has proceeded. Why you need so many people in this knowledge? Because this is not something to be read. This is not DIY Vedanta. There is nothing that you can accomplish on your own, because your own infrastructure comes in the way of assimilating the knowledge. So therefore one has to, as this Upanishad will say later on, go to a teacher in order to be taught. So this is exactly what is very, very important here. One has to go to the teacher, because the teacher has learned from his teacher, who has learned from her teacher, who has learned from his teacher, who has studied with her teacher, and so on, all the way to Lord Brahmaji. So the infallible source of this knowledge is highlighted here, and that is that flow of this knowledge, which is intact, is delivered through an unbroken chain of students and teachers unto this day. How can you say unto this day? Because you are here. That's how you can say unto this day. You are very much here, and after you gain this knowledge, maybe you will share it with a few people. You will have your own Angiras, to share it with, who knows. And or you may have your firstborn to teach it to. So all those possibilities are there. So the parampara continues. It never ever really stops. And then, so there are two things we have to discuss here with the second mantra. Two things come to mind. First is that this is something taken care of by Adi Shankara, who very much adamantly follows the sannyasi lineage. Sannyasi lineage means that one has to be a sannyasi or sannyasi like in one's dispassion in order to gain and promulgate, transmit this knowledge. So he puts a little caveat, and he says, just because the householder knowledge is talked about, don't think that sannyasis are useless. He talks about that in the Bhashya. And in fact, this is just a linga, an indication. That's all it is. The householders may also be capable, but really speaking, those householders must have been so exalted in order to gain and transmit this knowledge. Let us not forget that, he says. So that is something important to remember. And then the second thing, when I read this, when I read verses number 1 and 2, it's just, I start to think, okay, Atharva, Brahmaji, here coded as masculine, Atharva, firstborn son, and then Angir, man, okay, and then Bharadwaja, Satyavaha, man. How do we know? Because it declines like Rama, okay, so it's a masculine, all those are masculine nouns. And then Angiras, again masculine. Where are the women? One might have, if there was a modern Purva Paksha, this is the question we would ask. This is the question we would ask. Where is the place for someone who does not look like Atharva, does not look like Angir, does not look like Satyavaha, does not look like Bharadwaja? Can women be recipients of this knowledge? And can women be teachers of this knowledge? Especially in a milieu that is overcrowded with all kinds of injunctions and prohibitions where women are concerned. Women should not chant Om, prohibition number 1. Why? If you go deeply and look inside this prohibition, this is a cultural prohibition. This is not this is on the level of Dharma Shastra, meaning some people who thought, they could decide what men and women should or should not do. And so, women should not chant Om. If you look deeply into this prohibition, then we have to see what happens when you chant Om. You lose interest in life because it gives Vairagya. The chanting of Kevala Om, Kevala Pranava, Kevala Omkara, just Om without Namah Shivaya or any mantra attached to it gives extreme Vairagya. So then, women should not chant Om iti. This kind of an injunction was perhaps there in order to keep the division of labor intact, in order to not rock the boat, where women, just say, the men come home, where is dinner? What dinner? There is no dinner, no lunch, it's a self-service. Bring your own dinner, and in fact while you make your own dinner, while you are at it, keep some for me also, so that this kind of a thing, that this disrupts the society. And so the people who are in charge of these Dharma Shastras, these sages who were responsible for promulgating how to keep dharma going, they also thought that this division of labor must not be disturbed, and women have a lot of responsibilities. You're caring for the next generation, bringing them up, not small things, huge responsibilities. And so all that should not stop, and therefore the injunction, women should not chant Om. It is not in the Upanishad at all. And so here in this we have to see that this is just one Upanishad which talks about this, whereas we have women in the form of student in in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Maitreyi asks for this knowledge. We know that. And then in the Kenopanishad, goddess Haimavati Uma is the teacher of Lord Indra. So we find that women are there in the form of teachers, in the form of students, in the form of Bhagavan. All these things are there, and so therefore we need not be deterred by this. We can just enjoy this, knowing full well that this does not in any shape or manner negate the presence or the role of women in Brahma Vidya. So this is something to know. And then let us go to verse number 3 with these words. Shaunako havai mahashalah angirasam vidhivad upasannaf papracha kasminnu bhagavo vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati iti. Now, at who did we stop at? Who was the last student there in verse number 2? Angiras. Okay?
Angiras.
Yeah, Angiras. So very good. So this Angiras was approached one day by a man named Shaunaka. So Angirasam upasannaha Shaunakaha. So upasannaha, the one who was approached by Shaunaka. Who was that? Angiras. So this Angiras was approached by a student wannabe, a Shishya wannabe by the name of Shaunaka. So Shaunakaha Angirasam Vidhivat, let us drop for the time being. Angirasam papracha. So Shaunakaha Angirasam papracha. Papracha asked a long time ago. What, who asked? Shaunakaha asked. Who did he ask? He asked Angiras. Angirasam Shaunakaha Angirasam papracha. How did he ask? Upasannaha papracha. Having approached. he asked. Because if he asked, in some other different town, especially in a time where there was no SMS and all these things, he did not ask for this knowledge remotely. He actually presented himself, upasannaha, presented himself near or in front of the guru to be Angiras, and asked. How did he approach? Vidhivat. Vidhivat means according to the norms laid down by the Shastra. According to the norms laid down by this Shastra, meaning you approach the teacher with reverence and you say, you are my only refuge. At least even if you don't say that, you feel that somewhere. That I have tried everything else and nothing else suffices, nothing else is leading me to this knowledge of myself, and you are my only hope. You are the one that I have to, you are my last hope. Like the person who approaches a doctor after having tried various modalities of treatments. Chinese medicine, tick, yes. And then Ayurveda, yes, been there, done that. Homeopathy, yes, been there, done that. Allopathy, yes, been there, done that. But the pathology has not yet gone. So then for this dirgha rogi, for this person who is been sick, a chronic sufferer is called dirgha rogi. For this chronic sufferer, somebody finally comes and says, why don't you try this? This has given so much relief for all the people. And let's say the chronic sufferer has heard of the people who have benefited from this. So despite the hopelessness, the disenchantment, the delusion, and the disillusionment, all that, somehow the person racks up enough, enough gumption to go seek this modality of treatment. This is exactly how one approaches the teacher. Vidhivat means knowing that this is the last frontier, this is the last call, everything else has been tested, tried, all kinds of false starts have been gone through, and everywhere I have encountered a dead end. Why dead end? Because that's what has left me deadened to this knowledge, to the idea that I will ever be free. And so you are my last hope. With that kind of a reverence, and of course there are all these vidhis. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Through being willing to do seva. Seva means I want to be of service, like that. And then pariprashna, asking questions that are meaningful, engaging in meaningful dialogue to overcome any kind of haziness, vagueness, doubt, etc. And then pranipata. Pranipata means falling, literally falling at the feet. Falling or the bending is called prahvi bhava. The ability to bend has many advantages. First is it gives you a very slim and trim midriff if you keep bending, so that is very nice. And then that is the avantara phalam, a kind of an unexpected result of doing namaskara, sashtanga namaskara, which is a kind of a yoga asana. And then the bending also, when the body bends, it's also easy for the mind to bend. Why should the mind bend? The mind should be able to say, okay, I'm willing to set my assumptions, my pet peeves, and my beliefs, and notions, and ideologies aside in order to hear from you. So that shows a certain sense of humility, and that shows some readiness. So with this readiness on part of Shaunaka, he went and asked Angiras. What he asked is in the second line, but how he asked we saw with a lot of humility, with a lot of eagerness he asked. And then how do we know he is ready? There is a small word here, Mahashalaha, which qualifies Shaunaka. Shaunaka, Havai. Havai are these particles, which means indeed a long time ago. Havai. And so who is this Shaunaka? Shaunaka is Mahashalaha. Shaunakaha, Mahashalaha. These two words are in apposition. What does that mean, Mahashalaha? Mahan Shala Yasya. The one who had a huge hall. Shala means hall. So why did he have a hall? Yeah, he wanted to open a ballroom dancing class. No. Why did he have a hall? That is where he did yajnas and fed a lot of people. Dining hall, we can take it, study hall, prayer hall, homa hall. Because of which, that's why it's called hall. He had hauled up a lot of punya and emotional maturity as a result of having this kind of a hall. Maha hall, big hall, and which talks about having a big heart in order to share the bounty that he had, in order to share the results of the prayer. He did not just do a small little homa. This is, what is that called? Japanese homa. Very completely different from Indian homa. You have to watch this. All the sticks will be exactly nicely, shaved and curated and all just perfectly and tied in a nice bundle. A tiny little small place to do this thing. And the ghee teaspoons, you need a microscope to look at. Okay, and just one drop, little bit, less is more, they believe. Very nice, and not a single mess. In fact, our homa, we need 3 days of cleaning up, especially if it's done in a big way in a temple or something like that. You do Chandi homa and after that you repent immediately. Why did I do this? Why did I organize this? And there is so much ayasa. All these things have to, and there is oil spill, and there is ghee spill, and something has upturned, and there is all this prasada left that has to be distributed. There are flowers everywhere, fruits in various stages of their life cycle, etc. And so, but here this homa was just like a baby homa. And for Purnahuti they had one cashew and one raisin wrapped in a small little, very nice little origami, little paper. And then for fruits they had 2 cherries. That's all, to do just like this. And the arati was just very tiny arati. You had to really look where it was. And then this is not Japanese homa. This is very much a big homa, a communal fire ritual. Homa means fire ritual, a communal fire ritual, the one who was accustomed to doing, not just one time. Therefore Mahashala. So the one whose heart was very big, who involved the whole community in all the prayers, and who involved them and who fed them, and who was kind of a leader of all of them. Such a person alone is qualified for this knowledge, and how he is qualified and what he asked, we will see in 2 weeks. Same time, when is that, so 26th, I think, right? Is it the 26th or the 27th? That weekend. Okay, so so next Sunday, not this coming Sunday, but the Sunday after that, we will meet again. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadagya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you very much. Good night, good morning, wherever you are.